Hey, it's Brandy and I am back with another project share. And this one we are working on the base pages for our Justice is Served mini album. We're going to get right in and make page 1. This is going to be a flip and flop page, and we're going to cut this 8.5 by 11 cardstock down to 4 1/4 by 8.5. We're going to rotate it in our paper trimmer, and we are going to score it at 6 1/4. I chose this size specifically because I wanted to be able to put in 4x6 photo mats, just so that I could have some spots for larger photos. Once we have done that, we are going to add the bottom hinge. I don't pre-prep my albums. I don't pre-design them. I just kind of wing it and pull up the cardstock. So you're going to see me measuring and kind of figuring things out on the fly here, but I have all of the final measurements for you. This piece you're going to cut down to 5.5 by 4 1/4, so it'll be the same width as our page, and then you're going to score it at 5 inches, so you end up with a 1/2 inch hinge. I'm going to dry fit all my pages to make sure that they fit and that I cut them straight. And then once I have done that, I'm going to add my adhesive. Adhesive is a personal choice. I prefer score tape over liquid glue because I am not a very cleanly crafter and I make a mess with liquid glue and I get it everywhere. So you can use whatever you want. I use score tape, and I specifically use the 3/8 inch score tape because it's just the perfect size for my 1/2 inch hinge. We're going to move on to page 2 here. This page style is a pocket page style, so we're going to cut this down to 6 3/4 by 9, and we are going to score at 4 1/4, and we are going to score again at 8.5, so we end up with that 1/2 inch hinge on the end, and then we're going to rotate and score at 6 1/4, so we end up with another 1/2 inch hinge. We're going to cut out all the bulk. We only need one side of that hinge for that pocket, so we're going to cut that top part of the hinge off. We're going to line it up with our paper trimmer. You can do this with scissors if you prefer. And then we're going to miter all of the corners and take out all of the bulk. So you just chop off all the corners, get all of the extra paper you don't need out of there. You're going to fold and burnish all of your score marks and add your adhesive of choice. This pocket will be big enough to fit a 4x6 photo in, which is really awesome to be able to have a smaller mini album and still be able to fit full 4x6 photos in. I also really like 3x4 photo mats as well as some 3x5, but you can add whatever size photo mats you personally prefer. So I apologize that this video is taking me forever to get up. I am just getting over a cold and I have had no voice for almost a week and a half. But I am back and I am making videos and editing as fast as I can. So once we are done with the main pocket, I'm going to add a small pocket on the front. The small pocket is going to measure 5 1/4 by 2.5. And you're going to add a 1/2 inch score on three of the 4 sides. So the 2 short sides and the long bottom. The only thing with these pockets is you really want to dry fit them because you want to make sure that you line up with the outside edges of your pocket. When I'm scoring these, I always make sure that I line up my paper with the full outside line of the mark for the score, like for the 1/2 inch. So I'm scoring on I'm giving it like a healthier 1/2 inch as opposed to lining it with the very front edge of that one, like the little black line. I hope that makes sense. But you're going to add your score tape to the hinges, and then you're just going to pull off the paper adhesive, and then you are going to add this to your pocket page, and then this page will give you a large pocket and a shallow pocket. Remember, when you're adding this piece to your mini album page, that you want to make sure that that top pocket is actually at the top. I cannot count how many times I have gone and tossed on a mini a front pocket and totally forgot to check where the top was, and I end up having my pockets backwards. Check to make sure that all the score lines are burnished, and make sure you make 2 of each page because you'll need 6 pages for this album. We're going to move on to page 3. Page 3 is another flap page, but it goes in the opposite direction. So you're going to cut this down to 6 1/4 tall by 8 1/4, and you're going to score at 4 1/4. This will give you one flap that is 4 1/4 wide and one flap that is 4 inches wide. I did it this way so that way there was a little bit of an edge so that you could rotate the flap and that it didn't get caught when you were in the book. And then I could put 4x4 photos on it. I'm going to add an angle pocket here, and I hadn't decided on the measurements when I made this angle pocket, so you're going to see me chop it down, but I'm also going to show you how to duplicate an angle pocket so that you don't actually have to do any major measuring. So the piece for this angle pocket will end up being 4 by 4 3/4, and you're going to score a 1/2 inch on 2 sides. And then you can cut whatever angle you want, whatever looks good to you. And then I'm going to dry fit it here and then realize I don't like what I had originally decided, and then I'm going to end up rotating it, which is why I didn't give you the measurements that you saw me cut, because I didn't keep them. And then we are going to duplicate this pocket in just a minute. My paper trimmer that I'm using is the Fiskars one with the wire guide in it, and I also have the Fiskar spring-loaded scissors, and then the little scoring tool, the orange one that I've been using throughout the tutorial. It's just like a little stylus that has like the little ball, like the rounded ball ends. It's my go-to one if I can find it. Most of the time, my little one is obsessed with it, so it disappears sometimes. So here I'm just measuring what my actual size of the pocket was, which is 4 3/4 by 4. And I'm going to cut this piece down, and then to make sure that I get the same angle, I'm just going to line them up. And because I have that wire trimmer, I can line it up with that wire guide right up to the edge and trim off that little angle. That way I don't have to measure the angle, I don't have to do any major math. I'm going to add my 1/2 inch score, and then I'm going to make sure I cut out the bulk in my pocket, and that way I end up with 2 identical pockets, and I didn't have to do any crazy measuring or angle math. I like basic math. So we are going to finish up these last 2 pages here, and then I will show you all 6 pages completed, and we will move on to the next step. In the next video, we will be working on the binding system for this book. It's a pretty easy binding system. It might take you a little bit to get the hang of it, but once you get the hang of it, it honestly is super easy and convenient. So this page has the ankle pocket and then 2 flaps to decorate. I like the larger spaces to decorate. Here are all 6 pages completed. I'm going to move this out of the way so that you can see them. So you have this shallow pocket and then the large pocket at the top. And then you have this flip and flap kind of, so it'll have a small flap at the top, large flap at the bottom. And then we have our angle pocket with our 2 nice large photo mat areas. So that's the beginning of our album. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will be back with you guys soon to work on the next section. Thanks!